So lots of visitors up there.
Okay.
And one of the, because I mean, we were asked to do the whole identity as well as the signs. And I can't find much relating to it except lots of letters, documentation going backwards and forwards, mainly to do with money. And you see, Jock did all of that. Such a headache. I have been so lucky because dealing with money and administration, it's killing, isn't it? So Jock did all of that, but I obviously went to lots of meetings because it was my lettering and my idea to do these very big platform signs, right? Really big. The idea being that, and also to have the different stations in different colours. The idea being that if you're a passenger and you just look through the window, you would see a big slab of a letter, part of a letter in blue or green or whatever, and that would be enough. And they were all on these wonderful vitreous enamel panels. And there was the concept was a very simple one. It was just basically yellow as the key colour. And in my simple mind, I thought, all the trains could be just yellow, right? Yellows. And then there's this strip band at the top of the platform signs, which is in yellow and it carries an arrow and exit. So very simple, and that was it. But the present designers, times change anyway. I think they felt that different colours was too 80s. I never know what 80s looks like, really. I can never think in terms of decades. I just feel that I design now how I was designing then. So I think they've kept the big lettering, and they've also used bands and that. And I think I've got a more restrained colour in black, grey and yellow, which is very elegant.
Started at Newcastle Poly in 1984, and I remember going into Jesmond Metro Station and thinking, and I'd just seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I'd been thinking, this is the leap of the imagination, but I'd looked at this platform and this brand new metro station and thought, this is amazing. I've arrived. I've come from a little place called Thornaby up the A19 to Newcastle, which I thought was the big city, and I just on this platform thinking, this is so cool. The metro system and that typeface is so synonymous with the city. It has the strength, it has the character, it has the individuality, it has that kind of brutalness in a way, which I think there's something a bit in your face about the city. It just sort of fits, really. But we were all working together to sort of, let's make the new visual system, which has to work on a two-dimensional world, but it has to work on a three-dimensional environmental space. How do we make it work? And I think that the big the vitreous enamel panels that were in the metro station originally were replaced with rather than sort of large panels, with individual panels, which sort of tied in very nicely to this sort of graphic sort of rail bar device, and just to sort of really use the Calvert typeface for everything, whereas they'd have secondary typefaces and tertiary typefaces. We say no, just use it for everything. I remember having this massive argument with a guy because I said I wanted it on the LED displays that are in the station. And he says, we can't possibly put the typeface on the LED display. I was thinking, man, you can put a man on the moon, you can put an LED, we can get this typeface, I'm not being funny, but we must be able to do this somehow. Anyway, it got done. But it was just this idea of just using it kind of religiously and respecting it as well, really, and creating a very simple modern application and system for it in terms of stripping it back to the colours as well, and making it's the white, it's the black, it's the yellow, and making them not introduce other colours into it, because it was becoming slightly chaotic with other colours coming in, other typefaces. So it almost was just to strip everything away from it till you've almost got just the typeface, and then build a sort of system around it. And we also redrew the actual Metro logo itself. We refreshed that, and we used a slightly different typeface underneath for the word Metro, which I believe is Accidens, just purely because it needed that couldn't be the Calvert typeface. It needed to be an identification just in terms of the actual mode of travel, and then we carried that system through to bus, to ferry, and so on. And we used the same system when we did the signage system for the bus station at Haymarket. But in some ways, what I think that Faulkner Brown had done inadvertently is also created some principles around a visual identity. That might have been there brief, but the environment on the train actually was the identity, because that's where you pretty much saw it. So I think what they laid down from an environmental perspective formed the basis for the sort of visual identity, the characteristics, the sort of simplicity, the clean lines, the lack of clutter. In some ways, I think what we've done is just almost carried that principle through onto the new corporate identity system and kept it clean and simple, no clutter, don't over elaborate, and in some ways create a visual identity, more of an identity system to reflect the architectural sense of it as well.
Branding was, so the branding, the Metro, it was done by the best designers in the country. This is the same team that did the motorway signing.
Right.
Yeah. Our motorway that's used around the world. It's had a refresh, but it's only made it tighter. The design, the quality of design in some of the stations is fantastic. Places like Jesmond Station, a little urban oasis, and even a basic station like Ilford Road, which was recently been painted white. It's just some brutalist, cement and things. But the infrastructure, the canopies, the barriers and things like that was all consistent, good quality, simple, stripped down, but really good quality. The fact it was consistently applied across the whole network has made a huge difference, and we've stuck with it, and it's not been messed about with. It's partly what makes it feel like a system. That subconsciously you don't realise how those big M's above stations have an impact.